Welcome to today's Explainer. So, tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever just stared at your bank account and thought, am I doing something fundamentally wrong here? Or is this whole financial game just completely rigged against me? Well, if you have, you are absolutely going to want to pay close attention today. We are unpacking the ultimate mystery: why most people never become millionaires and why some actually do. And as you'll see, the answer involves a system that kind of is a little bit rigged, sure, but there's also a mathematically boring truth that can absolutely beat it. To really wrap our heads around this, let's kick things off with a tale of two totally different outcomes. First up, we've got Joel. Joel taught high school chemistry for 30 years, drove the exact same 12-year-old Camry, ate a sad little sandwich at his desk every day, and honestly, looked like he was just scraping by. But then he retired, and everyone was absolutely shocked to find out he was sitting on a net worth of over $1.2 million. On the flip side, we have Trevor. Trevor out-earned Joel every single year for 3 straight decades. He looks incredibly successful, standing right there on the deck of a boat he literally named Freedom, a boat he still owes money on, by the way. Yet his retirement account is sitting at a terrifying $40,000. It's the exact same 30-year window. One guy is a quiet, unremarkable millionaire, and the other is a loud, performative spender. Unlocking the reason behind that massive gap is exactly what we're doing today. Okay, let's dive into section 1, the averages are lying. Because, well, they really are. Check out this massive number. Over $1 million. Specifically, $1,059,000. This is the mean household net worth in America right now. So on paper, if you just look at the average, the typical American family has supposedly already crossed the millionaire finish line. Now, if you are looking at your own finances right now and feeling completely left behind, please know you are not alone. Because honestly, this number, it's a total illusion. Because when we switch over to the median, we hit this number, $192,000. The median is the actual dead center of the economy. It's the exact household where half of everybody is richer and the other half is poorer. That massive gaping hole between over $1 million and just $192,000 is exactly why the economy feels so incredibly off for so many people. So why are those two numbers so wildly far apart? It all comes down to a mental model I like to call the lopsided bar trick. Imagine you've got 9 regular everyday people hanging out in a bar. Suddenly, Jeff Bezos walks through the door. Well, guess what? The average net worth in that room instantly skyrockets to somewhere around $40 billion. But obviously, not one of those original 9 people can even afford to cover the tab, which is frankly absurd. The top 1% of households own 31% of all the wealth. They drag that average way, way up into a total fantasy land, making things look far healthier than they actually are for the everyday person. And the reality for that middle-of-the-pack household gets even more precarious when you dig deeper. If we take that $192,000 median net worth and just strip out home equity, the value locked inside the house they literally still have to live in, we drop all the way down to this number. $66,000. That is the true, liquid, spendable cushion standing between the family in the exact middle of America and total financial disaster. Seeing how terrifyingly thin those margins are, you kind of have to ask yourself, how does anybody actually make it to the other side? Well, that brings us right to section 2, the quiet millionaire next door. Because millionaires absolutely do exist. There are roughly 24 million of them in the country right now, so clearly something is working for them. Let's look at who these people actually are. First things first, we need to completely debunk the myth of the trust fund millionaire. When you picture a millionaire, you're probably picturing a massive inheritance or some trendy tech startup, right? Well, a massive survey of over 10,000 millionaires totally shatters that illusion. 79% received absolutely zero inheritance. Zero. 89% are first-generation rich, meaning they built the whole shebang from scratch. A full 1/3 of them never even earned 6-figure salary in a single year of their working lives. And the vast majority, they went to completely normal public state universities. They got there through plain old, unglamorous consistency. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the top 5 careers among those exact same millionaires. We're looking at engineers, accountants, teachers, managers, and attorneys. Notice anything? There's no secret door here. There is no cheat code. These are just normal people working very normal jobs. I really want to highlight this specific quote from the data because it is wild. Teachers outranked doctors. Think about that. The person grading high school chemistry quizzes is statistically more likely to become a millionaire than the person doing your annual physical. The absolute crucial point to take away here is this. A massive income is definitely not a requirement for building massive wealth. And that flows perfectly into Section 3. Income is not wealth. We are about to look at the single most expensive mistake you can make in personal finance. We really need to stop confusing a big salary with a high net worth because they create two totally distinct financial identities. First up, we have the income statement affluent. These people look incredibly rich. They've got the huge salary, the sprawling house, the brand new truck, but their actual net worth, it's basically a rounding error because every single dollar that comes in immediately goes right back out to fund that lifestyle. That's our guy Trevor. On the other hand, we have the balance sheet affluent. They look aggressively normal. A modest house, a standard car, but their net worth is enormous because they quietly keep a chunk of everything they earn. And that's Joel. Let's look at exactly how their paths diverged over those 30 years when it came to something as simple as getting a raise. Trevor got a massive $12,000 raise, and what did he do? He let his lifestyle stretch out to fit it perfectly. It vanished into a $400 higher truck payment, a slightly nicer apartment, and pricier dinners out. By December, the raise was totally absorbed and completely invisible. Joel, on the other hand, got much smaller raises. But every time he did something so incredibly boring. He just nudged up his automatic transfer to his investment account before he ever even saw the money hit his checking account. And then he completely forgot about it. Trevor let his money drift to his lifestyle. Joel automated his money to his future. All right, we do have to pause here for Section 4, the tilted economic floor. Because before we just go blaming everyday people for failing to save, we need a little empathetic validation. We absolutely must look at the systemic failure points because the economic floor most people are standing on right now is severely tilted. Right now, the personal savings rate in America is hovering around a tiny 3%. Nearly 6 in 10 Americans literally couldn't cover a surprise $1,000 expense from their savings. When financial gurus just yell at people to stop buying lattes, they're completely ignoring a brutal math problem. Since the 1980s, the cost of housing, healthcare, and college has vastly outrun wages. For millions of households, there were never any lattes to begin with. The essentials are simply eating the paycheck before any wealth can even be built. And if you look at the tools designed to actually help people build wealth, you see just how locked away they really are. This data shows a stark reality. 42% of full-time workers don't have access to any workplace retirement plan at all. But look at how it breaks down across income levels. Among the lowest earners, nearly 79% have absolutely no access. But among the highest earners, only 18% lack access. The best wealth-building tools, the tax breaks, the matching money from employers, are structurally locked away from the exact workers who desperately need them the most. It's literally like a system that hands out free umbrellas, but only to the people who are already standing safely indoors. So the system is definitely tilted. But where does that actually leave you? That brings us to Section 5, the power of boring. Because if you can carve out even a small margin, there is a solution. The secret engine of wealth building is surprisingly aggressively boring. Let's look at how this builds over time through the absolute mathematical power of compounding. If you earn a historical average return of roughly 7% after inflation, and you start at age 30, you need to invest about $610 a month to hit $1 million by retirement. But watch what happens to the math if you wait. At age 40, you suddenly need $1,300 a month. Wait until age 50, and you need over $3,200 a month just to cross that exact same finish line. Every decade you wait roughly doubles the toll, simply because compounding requires time to do its thing. And here is exactly how average investors sabotage themselves over that time. If you had $10,000 invested over the last 20 years and you just stayed put, you'd end up with somewhere around $72,000. But if you got scared, pulled your money out during a panic, and just happened to miss the 10 best days in the market over those 2 decades, you would have less than half of that money. The explosive best days almost always land right next to the scariest worst days. Staying put isn't just a friendly suggestion. Mathematically, it is required. So here it is, the ultimate aggressively boring recipe. Step 1, buy a low-cost fund that owns basically the entire broad market. Step 2, invest automatically every single month so you never even have to try to time the market or be brave. Step 3, do nothing for 30 years. Seriously, it is honestly as simple and unexciting as assembling flat-pack furniture. You just have to start as early as you can, be absolutely relentless, and never ever panic. This boring method,
It's an absolute superpower. Look, the math is brutal, but it isn't magic. It's just the early, boring, and relentless application of whatever margin you can possibly carve out. So I want to leave you with this final thought as you think about your own finances. Will you spend the next 30 years looking wealthy, trying to fund a flashy lifestyle like Trevor out on his boat? Or will you spend it quietly being wealthy, letting the math work for you in the background just like Joel? Honestly, the choice is entirely up to you. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.